What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here. Thanks for tuning into another episode. This week, got a couple of gentlemen recording with me. First and foremost, our guest is Dr. Grant Woods from Growing Deer TV. This was an awesome opportunity that we had to record with him. And I have to thank our other guy that's tuning in and joining me on this podcast, Ryan Reading, one of our own guys from New York. Got to thank him for helping set this thing up and get the ball rolling to have Dr. Woods on the show. But Dr. Woods, for any of you that don't know him, hopefully most of you know something about him, but he is very knowledgeable when it comes to wildlife and whitetail biology, whitetail management, deer management, habitat management, all of those things in that whole world. And I certainly got a very healthy education on a lot of stuff during this podcast episode myself. I learned a lot, and I hope you guys do as well. This is a very educational episode for anyone who is managing their own whitetail habitat in whatever extent it might be. I encourage you guys to listen to this podcast and go check out everything going on over there, all the free information that is there at Growing Deer TV. So before we get to the episode with Dr. Grant Woods, I want to give our partners a quick shout out. That way we can turn it over to the conversation as quickly as possible. First and foremost, Hoot Camo, rocking it right now on the podcast. If you guys haven't checked out all the awesome gear and the stuff that Hoot Camo is doing down here in Texas, then you need to go take a look. And they are not just camo patterns and products and gear that are applicable to Texas. They work everywhere. And I have worn this camo pattern right here in the hardwoods of Texas, in the flatland plains of eastern Colorado, in the mountains of central Idaho. Ton of different environments, ton of different purposes, different temperatures, different extreme conditions. And the Hoot gear has held up phenomenally for me from day one. Absolutely love it. Best part about it is a price point that is realistic for the everyday hunter and outdoorsman. If you are looking to get into a good quality set of camo, and that's what Hoot Camo produces, is good quality gear. You can compare their prices to the other name brands in the industry and you'll see the price difference right there. They also have everyday lifestyle wear, fishing gear, some other stuff like that you guys can pick up at hootcamo.com. And if you use the code FallObsession15 at checkout, that will save you guys some money. Hoot Camo, go check them out. Bear River Archery is the official bow shop of Fall Obsession. They are located here in North Texas in Van Alstyne. So if you guys are local to this area and you need somebody you can trust to work on your archery equipment, help you with your archery needs, head on over to Bear River. Let Justin know that you heard about him on Fall Obsession Podcast, and he will take good care of you guys. Go check out Bear River Archery. Trophy Edits is a Fall Obsession Podcast partner. I'm sure we've all had those photos, maybe even already this season, where you're excited to see the picture and see how it turned out. It was a memorable moment in the woods for you. You lay eyes on it, and it just doesn't do the moment justice. Maybe the lighting was wrong and it was too dark. Maybe it was blurry, out of focus. What the Trophy Edits team can do is they clean that up and make the most out of your hunting and outdoor memory. You can also order prints and different photos or products and everything featuring your picture and your memories from them. Go to the link in the podcast description on this episode to head on over to the Trophy Edits website, see everything that they got going on over there. And by clicking that link in this description, it'll let them know that you guys came from us. We appreciate that. Go check out Trophy Edits. Ridge Rock Hunt Company is a podcast partner. Derek Eves is the man over there in Mississippi. If you are looking to book a hunt with a vetted and trusted outfitter, Derek has a large network of folks that he works with that he knows and has trusted and hunted with him himself even. So if you guys are looking to book that next hunt, you need to let Derek do all the hard work for you. Use Ridge Rock Hunt Company. Go check him out. Finally, the Outdoor Call Radio app is a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. You'll catch Fall Obsession podcast playing on that loop on Mondays, the same day as our new publications, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love. Go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free, and you can start streaming immediately. And be sure that you're following Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call Radio app page on social media, because he does some local Midwestern live radio show broadcast a couple different times a week. And even if you're not local to those radio stations, he shares those broadcasts on his social media pages. So Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call radio app, go check him out. Finally, thank you guys again for tuning in to another Fall Obsession podcast. Whatever platform you are streaming this episode on, please hit that follow, subscribe button, whatever they have up there for you. Leave us a review if you like this podcast episode, if that's an option for you, and make sure your notifications are turned on if you can. Head on over to the YouTube channel. We are producing a lot of content during this time of the year. Since we're wrapping up hunting seasons, we're starting to get through all the footage and everything. So we have shows, films, podcast videos, all sorts of stuff dropping regularly and frequently on that YouTube channel. So be sure that you guys check out the Fall Obsession YouTube. Fallobsession.com is the website. That's the hub. That's where you guys can go to find all of our content filtering through there. Can pick you up a hat or a shirt if you're so inclined to support a small-time hunting brand. And be sure that you stream our shows on Carbon TV. We have 4 different shows streaming on that platform, including this podcast. Our staff-inspired video podcast series, Couch Chats, is on Carbon, as well as our 2 different hunting shows, Midwest Mindset and Texas Dirt. You can stream all those from Carbon TV. Hit us up on social media, all the major platforms. We post daily. Be sure that you're plugged in with everything we're doing here at Fall Obsession. With that, we are going over to our conversation with Dr. Grant Woods from Growing Deer TV. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Fall Obsession podcast. My name's Sam, hosting you guys again. Got a couple gentlemen here hanging out with me for another podcast episode. We got Ryan from our own team join us again, and then we're also recording with Dr. Grant Woods from Growing Deer TV. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
It's an honor. We're looking forward to getting to talk some whitetails with you. We've been excited about this one, but I'm sure for many tuning into this podcast that they're probably familiar with who you are or some of what you do. But for those who might not, if you wouldn't mind just giving us an idea on where Growing Deer TV started and how you got on this journey of deer and whitetail management.
Start with that one first. So I'm in the Ozark Mountains today near Branson, Missouri, and I was raised in this area. And when I was in first grade, I'm 63, so many years ago, there were no deer in the county where I was lived. And I heard a rumor or something somewhere they're going to restock deer. I wish I knew that part of the story, but barbershop somewhere. And I had a little trap line, a little rabbit trap line. Of course, I thought it was a big Yukon trap or something. I had to do my chores, raised on a farm every morning, and I'd go run my traps before I went to school. One morning, right before Christmas breaks, cold, a little bit of snow on the ground, I found a female fawn in one of our fields shot in the head. And ever since that moment, God worked it out where I've just been passionate about deer and deer habitat, and really dislike game law violators, pretty violently dislike them. So anyway, that started it, and just went to school. First guy in my family to go to school, trying to figure out a way to work with deer. Deer biology wasn't really a term. Thought I'd be a game warden or something like that. There were no habitat consultants or anything. And in my undergrad, I got to work in the summers, BLM, Bureau of Land Management, and working with mule deer out west. So anyway, that got me on to graduate school, and during grad school, I helped patent the first trail camera for research, not for money. I think I made $200 off of it. I'm not a great businessman. Think where that's went from now. And did research on scrapes and rubs and behavior and stuff like that. Went to Georgia and Clemson, finished my PhD at Clemson. And was a consultant for quite some time. I didn't like universities enough to hang around and stay on the other side of the desk. And then about 15 years ago, we started Growing Deer. We make a new show every week, 52 weeks out a year. For 15 years, we've never missed a week, never had a repeat episode. So you guys produce, you know what that means. We're producing a lot of content, blessed with great staff. We have about 7 employees here and just blessed with a great staff.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a commitment for sure. 15 years and never missing a week. I I envy that for sure. It takes a lot of people doing a lot
I
of
don't know
work
if
to pull
you
that
but y'all
off.
say that guy's crazy, man. Why does he do that amount of work? That's crazy.
All for a good cause for sure. Well, we want to dive right into whitetail and talking about some deer hunting, and I think the best way to kick off the conversation is kind of relevant to the time of year that we're in right now. We're in that mid-December window. We're post rut and everything, and I want to start off by just asking you how, for you in your mind, how strategies when it comes to hunting whitetail bucks change from pre-rut, during rut, and into the post rut.
Okay. You want to do it in that order? You want to start about that order?
Absolutely, that worked just fine.
Sure. Okay, so let's say pre-rut. First of season, deer aren't thinking about it. Almost no does are receptive. Rut's a big bell-shaped curve. Had a bad rut this year, good rut. You always got fawns the next spring. The peak of the rut, wherever you are, here it's about November 8th, 9th, is the same as it was 100 years ago, and that's what it's going to be next year. A lot of research on this, so it's not my opinions. But there's always a few early and late because it's that big bell-shaped curve. So before that starts, it's food cover, food cover. And my strategy is I'm private land. I like to have a food plot about 75 yards away from cover. And I have several of these on my property. So different wind directions, whatever, where I can approach, hunt, and exit without alerting deer. And the number one tip I have for people, number one over everything else I'll share, is think like a deer. Everyone thinks like a human. Deer hunters think like a human. You have to think like a deer. For about, you shoot a deer, that does not disturb our deer. They don't know what death is. They have no idea what death is. No idea. No one's ever heard that grandpa died. Not one deer. So they have no idea. The best thing you can do, by the way, especially pre-rut, rut, post-rut, if you're hunting with firearm, is first thing you do when you get a stand, drop a doe right in front of you. We kill about 25% of our mature bucks coming to smell a dead doe. They don't know what death is. It's just a fresh smelling deer. Whether she's receptive or not, they're going to come check it out. This year in rifle season, I filmed two different bucks for over an hour smelling a doe I'd harvested earlier that morning, and then I harvested a big mature deer. So we do that we strive to shoot the first doe we see during firearm season. Both season are going to run, right? You don't want to track deer 100 yards away from your stand, but with the firearm, make that double shoulder shot, put them there. So pre-rut is food cover, food cover. I want my food about 75 yards away so they will get there before it's dark. Or if you have a place where you can hunt mornings are tough, that they're going to return at daylight. If it's too far away, they're going to go through there at dark, right? Because they're going to bed pretty early. And I think a thing also maybe some of us miss is it's backwards. We think a morning is morning and evening is evening. For a deer, they're starting the morning shift right when the sun goes down. That's the start of their day. It's totally backwards. So we need to position our stands. I think a lot of people position stands and blinds based on a human schedule and not a deer schedule. And those morning hunts, they're going to bed. They've worked the night shift. They're going to bed. So get into the pre-rut. It's all about travel corridors. There's not many does receptive. We call the pre-rut up to about when 25% or less of the does are receptive. So there's enough scent in the air, that magic perfumes out there, that testosterone levels are going up in bucks. And when that happens, they physically take more steps per day. That doesn't mean they cover a larger area. Everyone thinks the old big stud bucks running the county breeding does. Nothing's further from the truth. That's not true at all. There's been now hundreds and hundreds of mature bucks fitted with GPS collars. We're not guessing anymore. We know a lot. Now we're in a period of defeating myths and helping hunters be better. So they're taking more steps. They're on their feet a little bit longer. I call that the rut diet. If we all aggressively walked 20% more day and took 20% less calories in, we would lose weight. I call it the rut diet. That's what deer do. A buck loses about 30% of their body weight during the rut. That takes a 200-pound buck down to a 140-pound buck. It's significant. So if you need to lose weight, hop on that rut diet. It has nothing to do with breeding, folks. It's walking more and eating less. That's the pre-rut because they're walking more. Those pinch points, travel corridors, creep makes a bend, two fence rows come together wherever you hunt. I'm in mountain country, so saddles and stuff like that. Rut Everyone talks about the rut. All the outdoor writers talk about the rut. That's the worst time to hunt unless you're just hoping something walks by. They're not on a pattern. They're willy-nilly. Any buck that you've had on your cameras could show up, or it may be, their full home range is bigger than summer home range. So they're going to use that full home range, and the extension of that home range may be off your property. So the rut's willy-nilly. That's when, and you see this every year, Missouri's firearm season is right smack dab during the rut. That allows a lot of people to participate, a lot of people to kill deer. If you're a land manager like I am, I want everyone to have a good time, but you kind of hate it because you've made food plots and prescribed fire and done timber stand improvement. All of a sudden, those bucks are spaying in their home range to the maximum amount. And my neighbor who does nothing is just as likely to kill the deer as I am. It's wherever they smell a receptive duck.
Mm-hmm.
Post rut, again, it doesn't stop on a day. It's a bell-shaped curve. They're not going to take as many steps. They're going to focus on bucks. They're not going to focus on feeding more. The magic here is for us managers, if you have good habitat, your female fawns are getting, 60, 70 pounds, depending on where you are, big difference between Iowa and southern Mississippi, something like that. They're going to reach puberty. They're going to become receptive. And those female fawns have never been to the big dance before. When an adult doe becomes receptive, again, GPS collars, my observations, they almost always separate from the fawns and go to an area that's really thick cover because it's brutal being a doe during the rut. 25% plus of twin fawns or stepbrother, stepsister, they've been bred by multiple bucks, maybe 5, 6, 7 bucks. It's brutal. So they don't want to just stand out in the open. Hey, I'm receptive. Here I am, right? They're getting covered actually to use that brush as a shield. So we're going to drop their fawns and do that. Female fawns have never been to the dance. They don't know how bad boys are. So they're walking out that same food plot every afternoon. And if you've had a pretty aggressive doe harvest, you're working on balancing the amount of deer, the amount of groceries on your property. By that time, there's some female fawns that mom's not teaching them what to do. And they just go same food plot every afternoon, food cover, food cover. And if you can identify that with your trail cameras or something, that is where you hunt because a buck is going to come check them out because that's the does are going to be coming receptive at that time of year. So
Gotcha.
Anyway, post rut for me is all about food and especially food I haven't hunted or deer do not associate with danger that fawns are using. If you can line that up, you have food you haven't hunted in a month or so, and deer do not associate that with danger, and you have trail camera pictures of female fawns coming in, slap your tag because you got a real good chance it's going to happen.
Gotcha. That's some detailed info. I love that. I do have a question for you. You were talking when you mentioned stand placement and everything. You said position your stands based on the deer schedule. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because, and to give you some background, I'm from Texas, for example. Ryan hunts up there in the Northeast in New York. So two very contrasting environments or locations for us to be able to hunt and everything. And I know, like me growing up, it would always be we're just looking for a good stand position, relatable to where the sun is. So we're not looking into the sun, at various times of the day. And growing up, we didn't put a lot of thought into that. So what does it look like? What should I do let me back up. What kind of information should I base my stand placement off of to base it off of the deer schedule?
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier that morning is when a deer is going to bed. And our afternoon is when deer's getting up. So
Right.
We need to think about how we'll approach hunting next to those areas. That's kind of what I was talking about. A lot of people place stands on, it's my morning, therefore it's the deer's morning. So we know we're catching them going back to the bedroom more or less in the morning. How can we approach? There's a big field over here or a big acorn flat. They're coming back from that area. How can we approach that area? Because you don't want to try to hunt alerted deer. So I was talking more about that. In the afternoons, they're coming out of bedroom. And there's always that big buck moving during the day. But research is really clear. Even during the peak of the rut, really the pre-rut, bucks are just moving everywhere looking for a receptive doe. There's very few moving at lunch. Those all-day sets, they work every now and then. Someone kills a big deer, writes a magazine article. Oh, I got to hunt all day long. statistically, by real data, your odds are so low. If you want to do that and you got time, that's fine. I need to come back to work, get some stuff done so I can go out and hunt a little bit in the afternoon during prime time. So I'm talking more about using the deer biology and where to put a stand on any property is really specific to the property. Thermals, Ryan, sounds like you're in a mountain country too, or depending on where you are in New York. I do a lot of work in New York, have for 30 years now, all over the state. I've been in New York about 4 times this year.
Nice.
And if you're in the mountain country, the Catskills, the Adirondacks, thermals rule you. And, hot air rises, cold air sinks. In the middle, it's churning, and you can't hardly get a deer within bow range. So when I'm mountain country, like my property, about 95% of my hunting is on a ridgetop, which is 5% of my property. But if I get on those side hills or bottoms, the wind's going to swirl. I'm talking hunting with archery equipment here, and chances of me getting a deer within 30 yards are slim and none. Really, really cold morning. When I say really cold, I'm talking 10 to 20% colder than normal for that day. It's cold because deer they don't know cold, hot. They know what it's supposed to feel like. They've produced the right amount of hair, hopefully got the right amount of fat. If it's colder than that, they're going to feel cold, right? So really cold morning, the air is going to go downhill much longer. Cold air sinks. Think that hot air balloon. You turn the gas up to make it go higher. You turn the gas off to sink back down to earth. On a really cold morning here, we can get in those bottoms that we almost never hunt, come in from the downhill side. We're walking up the creek, if you will, because our scent is going down unequivocally on those cold mornings. And so we can sit there where deer do not associate an area with danger and know our scent's going behind us till late in the morning on a really cold day. So I love cold mornings because I get to hunt places I'm normally not hunting.
I was actually going to ask you that kind of when is the best time that you like to hunt, or mornings, evenings, or even during the season in general.
I mean, I love all the hunting season, but pre-rut's probably my favorite. Right? There's just more activity. Again, bucks are making more steps per day. I'm a morning person. I wake up very early. Mornings, unless you got a great property, are tougher because the deer moving. Remember, in the mornings, the deer have been working all night long, and they're still working. So you're moving and they're moving. There's a real good chance you're going to bump into each other. Afternoon hunts, the deer in the bedroom. If you're going to, heaven forbid, go break in a house or a bank, when are you going? You're going at night when no one's around, most likely. So the deer in their bedroom during the middle of the day, and these are odds on. There's always some deer moving, a coyote jumped it, a hunter bumped it, whatever happened. These are odds on. So most of us are better hunters in the afternoon because we can get in without alerting deer. Mornings, you need to know where they are in the morning. You need to have a really good feeling for where they are, that acorn flat, that big ag field, whatever it is. And you can come around with the wind in your favor and then let them come to you. Most people are driving right through their property or walking through their property or walking through the public land, whatever it is, and they bump deer before they ever get to their stand.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I was kind of going to ask you, I know he wanted to touch on scrapes and stuff like that, but do you put a lot of emphasis on scrapes and how do you hunt them?
I like to stack the odds in my favor. So, a scrape in a pinch point by a white oak that's raining acorns, I want 3 or 4 things working together. If I just find a scrape by itself or maybe a scrape line that's kind of willy-nilly, am I on it? Am I not on it? I'm probably not that excited about it. It's tough enough when you're playing a 30-yard game. So I like to have several things working in the same direction. Again, a pinch point narrows down, whether that's my land can have some real steep places. So can they walk that slope? Absolutely. Do they want to? No. So, your back is to that pinch point, your scent's dropping down in the morning. I can come in the other way and there's a scrape right there and some acorns falling, or it's, food plot over here and they come this way to me. I'm looking for those things that give me several reasons for a deer to be within bow range.
Okay. I also wanted to know, not to kind of jump around or anything, but I know you've really implemented the buffalo system. And I kind of wanted
Uh-huh.
to know more about that, how you implement that, how you got into doing that, kind of the whole breakdown.
Yeah. So how we got into it was easy. My wife Tracy and I bought this old rock farm. We're in Stone County. It's Rocky, boys. When they call the county Stone, you're in a
For
rocky
sure.
place. And there was no need of, this was 20 plus years ago, no need of disking or anything like that. So rented the county no-till drill, and started planting. It was so rocky, literally. I used to foolishly plant treated seed. Maybe it's been given away by the NWTF or something. You know, when you see corn that's purple, pink, orange, soybeans are green, whatever, if you read the label, the first line on the back of that label will be danger. Do not feed the wildlife. Literally, danger. Do not feed the wildlife. I would never plant. Once I learned, well, I have to learn. Those seeds never get on my property, period. Turkeys are going to scratch out a row, squirrels, whatever. Those are neonics or a really bad insecticide. You don't want that on your body. It's all kind of warnings, only with gloves on, whatever it is. That stuff's nasty. So anyway, we were planting no-till and noticed that the soil was healing a little bit. There is no such thing as soil that's in great shape right now. All the soil in America, the planet's degraded. But what's amazing is, and we now call it the release process, we're releasing the creator's potential. It can recover. Just like if we all back off of sugar, it's amazing what happens to our bodies. I mean, I'm not saying this because, RF is thinking about being the guy out there. This is just a fact. I've had 2 kidney transplants, so I'm up at the Mayo Clinic at least once a year, every year. I've been that way for 32 years. So, to stay alive, you learn about your health. So anyway, we started no-tilling and then planting 2 species at a time instead of 1, and then 3, then 4. And I planted as many as 60 together at one time, literally. Dump all 60 in the grain bin at once, stir them up your hand, take out plant. They don't separate like all the old rumors. There's so many myths out there. And the more species you plant together, the healthier the soil gets, and you will produce more tons per acre. We all want more tons per acre in our food plot, right? If you've got one plant, let's just say wheat or soybeans or whatever, all the leaves are pretty much the same shape and they're more or less the same height. That's it. But if you've got something that's low, medium, high, different size leaves, you're catching more of the sun's energy, and hopefully none of the sun is getting to the soil. Because it's all about sunshine. We call it a habitat zone for deer and turkeys, 0 to 5 feet, ground level to 5 feet high. And there's some acorns above that fall. They're a bonus crop. They're not reliable. They're really low quality food, high in energy, never grew an antler. Acorns are they don't even have a maintenance amount of protein in them. Deer would starve to death on those. So we want good quality food. Deer eat broadleaf plants, ragweed, usually test out about the same as alfalfa, those kind of plants. And so when you have different size leaves at different heights, all that sun is being captured. It photosynthesizes. I'll take you back to 7th grade, biology. The simple product of photosynthesis is C6, that's carbon, H12, O2, okay? C6H12. That's the best food. That's the world's simplest sugar. That's glucose. You go to the hospital, they pump an IV in you, you get some glucose and salt. First thing to do at a hospital, right? Because that starts healing our body. So we want to produce that so plants can be healthy and produce the proteins they need. So if I'm wasting sunshine and it's going to the ground, I am not producing as good a deer as I could. It's just that simple. And if you have a food plot and sunshine's getting to the ground, what grows? Weeds.
Right.
Yeah. Creator wants something growing because plants are what hold the earth together. They're the best thing for dirt. I would never disc. We never disc. I haven't disked in 20 plus years. There's no chance of disking and not harming the soil. I know that hurts so many people. There is no chance, 0 chance of disking and not harming soil, because when you disc, you let way more air in the soil than God intended, and you're killing the beneficial microbes and favoring really microbes that are damaging the plants and soil. And you're chopping up earthworms by the billions and doing stuff. And all those critters really help soil. Plants were never meant, to take NP or K directly in. They have to go through a microbe. That's how it was created, literally. And I'll go one step further because I really love helping people's soil health. We got on this tangent because World War II, one of the super scientists in Germany that was trying to build a bomb for Hitler escaped. Well, he never figured out how to build a bomb. Fortunately, we're not speaking German. He did figure out how to make real cheap nitrogen. And that's where nitrogen fertilizer started in America, short of, animal manure or green plants rotting down, something like that. And so they wanted to test and see, well, this make plants grow better. So literally in the greenhouse, they sterilize soil, they fumigate soil. So it'd be an equal control. Their design was good, their knowledge was short. We all learn more all the time. They kill all the microbes, bugs, everything in the soil. Well, the soil at that point is just structure that can hold a plant up. So adding nitrogen helped. When you put nitrogen on healthy soil, which there's not much of, it hurts because you're killing the earthworms and the beneficial bacteria. And who wants to pay for that stuff, right?
Right.
Or go out there and spread it. I want to be catching a crappie that time of year or something like that. So, yeah, we use no fertilizer. I haven't used fertilizer in many, 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 many years. Big cost savings. I can go another hunting trip that way.
Yeah, that's amazing. So do you kind of
and
just
anyone,
like, oops, sorry.
I have clients in New York to do this. I have clients in Texas. You can see them on our videos. And we turn red clay black and we turn sand into soil. It doesn't happen overnight. You spent decades destroying the soil by disking, applying every herbicide, pesticide, fungicide, all this stuff on there. You're not going to turn it around in 1 year, but you can turn it around in a couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years, but on rain, all these other factors, And it's all plants. Plants are very healthy, and blends get you there much better because each species of plant releases a different strength of carbonic acid. Remember, photosynthesis carbon? Well, plants leak that out of root systems, a really mild carbonic acid. Different species leak out different formulations, if you will, of that acid. So like buckwheat is really good at freeing up phosphorus. I'd rather plant buckwheat for, another $5, $10, $15 an acre than go buy $300 of phosphorus and pour in the food plot. Because the phosphorus is in the dirt. We just have to make it in a plant available form. Or over every acre, your acre, my acre, over every acre is about 30 tons of nitrogen in the air we breathe. Over every acre on the planet. Why would you ever pay for nitrogen? Over every acre on the planet is nitrogen. And I like to remind people, I'm a big reader, I'm a geek. If you've never read the real Lewis and Clark journals, you should. If you won't commit to that, then read Stephen Ambrose's summary of it. As a hunter, fascinating reading. I mean, they were killing critters almost every day to eat on, guys. Talk about, you're a good hunter when your crew's going to go hungry if you don't kill something.
Yeah.
And you're a good enough hunter that grizzly bear doesn't kill you while you're getting something to eat, right? I mean, these are real hunters. They don't have the latest bow and the latest Gore-Tex. So fascinating to learn from. You get an audio book if you don't all read. If you're too lazy to read, get an audio book. Listen to it going back and forth to work. Well, the game they saw was incredible. Everyone said, "Oh, well, no oil pressure." I think 30 million Native Americans plus that had no McDonald's, that had to kill or pick to eat. That's a lot of hunting pressure. There's about 11 million deer hunters a year right now in North America, in the United States. 11 million. There was 30 million Native Americans out there trying to get something to eat. Some of them were old, not hunting. Some of them were young and not hunting. But they all had to feed off of it. So, yeah, there was a bunch of game. No one was putting any fertilizer out. No one was using herbicide. We know what the soils can do really clearly. We just have to use practices that allow that soil to release the creation's potential. That's why we call it the release process. And it's detailed. And if you want to, view us or not, we're blessed with a large audience. You can go to our just YouTube page, just search on Growing Deer. And we have a playlist about all this kind of stuff, how to improve soil, do food plots.
For sure. I was actually going to ask you. Go ahead.
And we don't have any, guys, unlike a lot of people, we don't have any magic thing for sale here, right? We don't have any go-go juice to sell you or magic soybean variety. We don't have anything to sell. We just have information.
That's good. Yeah, you definitely do your thing. I was going to just mention, like, hey, is there a late season food source that you prefer to hunt your deer over? But you kind of said blends are kind of your thing. So
I got sun shining on my face here, so I'm going to try to get out of that a little bit for you guys. No, but what you find, if you have really healthy soil, this is fascinating to me. And we see it here every year at our place. And you got all the microbes and insects and earthworms in the soil. They're all respirating, right? That's hot air. It's hot air. Even coming out of earthworms a little bit warmer, right? They're warm your soil up so your plants will grow much longer into the season than your neighbors that just disc. Much longer. We will see it snow here, not a big 5-6 inch snow, but a little dust and snow, quarter inch, half inch. And it will not stick to our food plots because there's so much life in the soil. And they're still green and growing. And 2 feet away, it will stick. Because there's that much life in the soil. And
That's
why we
interesting.
never plow, it's fascinating. And it's all real. And I'm not selling anything. You got, let's say you have pretty good setup and you got 24 to 36 earthworms per square foot of soil. Why would you ever disc? They're mixing that soil better than any mechanical machine can mix. But if you're putting down NP and K and all the nasties, you're not going to have those kind of earthworms.
Makes sense.
And again, the Creator had a plan, right? No one was disking the Great Prairie when we had 60 million bison out there. No one was disking.
No, not at all. I mean, it was all native plant then, you know what I mean? So I get where you're coming from.
And native animals interacting with them. So a deer salivates. If I'm getting too much in this, you let me know. But deer salivates about 2 gallons a day. Cattle, people don't see it on deer. They see a deer to shoot it. They don't get a look at it. They don't study it. Oh, deer, I got to shoot that thing. Cattle salivate because people see cattle and don't shoot them. About 30 gallons a day, big adult cow. You ever around a cow, they're drooling all the time. Anything that's a ruminant, that they take food in real quick, regurgitate it, bring it back up soft just for it to go back down. They got to have a lot of moisture to do that. Ends up in a lot of drool. Well, that drool, 1 teaspoon of drool will have trillions of bacteria, or called microbes, in there. That's how it gets in the soil. Not counting the urine and the feces. So it's a system that just keeps feeding itself. 30,000 tons, not pounds, tons of nitrogen above every acre, about 10,000 pounds of phosphorus per acre in the ground. And you're worried about adding 200 pounds of phosphorus? So it's a really cool system. It's can be challenging to start because your neighbor's gonna laugh at you. Oh my, Bill didn't disc this year. He ain't gonna kill any deer. And we face this all the time. And what we literally do is, you take that field in the back where the neighbors don't see and give us a try. We consult all the time because they're so worried the neighbor's going to see. People are so worried about what other people think. Oh my goodness, what a waste of days. What a waste of breath. Never worry about what people think, folks. Total waste of breath. So you can do this. Everyone can do it. And we're just here to help you do it. And our videos are free. We're not, for $9.95, we'll give you 3 months of videos. No, everything we do is free.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. It's something I wanted to really implement. I've disked for years. Unfortunately, and I just kind of want to get away from it. So I've been learning, and that was one of the things I wanted to ask,
Hey man, we all learn, right? I mean, back in the day, replicating the Marlboro Man was the coolest thing you can do. And now we know that's not really good for you. So we all learn. And we don't look backwards. Yeah, we don't look backwards. So you can do it. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know the disc, I don't know no-till drill. Not as many acres, but I actually have more food plots that are what we call little hidey holes. I mean, I told you I like if you got a pinch point and a big white oak tree there, hopefully drops more years than not. And deer usually scrape there. And then you add a little hidey hole food plot. If you can approach that area with the wind right, you're going to kill deer sometime during season, probably several deer. So we love little hidey holes. We do. I can't get a tractor most of my make. We do it by hand. I mean, we may overseed our crop into last fall's crop in the spring, summer, and then take our steel weed whacker in there and whack all the duff down right on top of it. That's just mulch on top of it, which is important because that keeps the sun from reaching soil. When you disc, it dries out, right? You've seen this. You've experienced it.
Yes.
Man, I'm in an area that droughts are frequent. We don't want to lose any moisture. My good friend Keith Burns says it's not how much rain you get, it's how much you keep. I don't want it evaporating off or running off to the neighbors. I want all that rain staying on my place. So if you never disturb the soil and you got these wormholes and all these cool things, the water just infiltrates in. So we want to keep that duff right on place. And by the way, the most limiting nutrient, this is, going to stretch for you people out there. The most limited nutrient is the one everyone's yelling about on the silly news, right? It's carbon. Plants are 70% carbon, more or less. You are 70% carbon. A deer is about 70% carbon. When you disc, carbon goes up in the atmosphere. If you disc a lot, and if you've disc for years, your soil's probably getting lighter and lighter colored.
Yeah.
Carbon's black. Carbon's black. Really rich dirt is black. Really good soil should look like rich, black, moist chocolate cake with a bunch of pores in there. And when you disc, man, it fluffs it up for a week or two. Go back a few weeks later and try to stick a shovel in that place because it all settles. And I'll illustrate that. You ever dig a hole, put a fence post in the ground? Then you put your post in there, maybe a corner post, and you go, well, where'd all the dirt go? I don't even have enough dirt to fill up the hole with a 6-inch fence post in the middle. Because when you dig it up, you crush all the pores out. You're smiling because you've experienced this, right?
For sure.
And you just dig it up, whatever, you crush all those air pores. If there's no pores, it can't hold water. And little roots can't get through there. We want really porous soil. Disking makes that for just a little bit, and then it just sinks down as hard as a doggone brick. But if I don't ever disc, I'm using a no-till deal, just make a little slice and put seed in the ground, or I broadcast, my soil will build more and more pores over time, and I'll have more earthworms, more bacteria. And by the way, when they die, they're instant organic fertilizer. Those rascals out there working 24/7, never take a break, never get themselves a pay raise. And all I have to do is have a good blend of plants growing. And what the deer don't eat, plants are carbon. I leave that carbon right there, and the earthworms, microbes eat that up. That's why it goes away.
So you said that I was going to ask you. You said you use seeds that are non-coated. Is there a specific place that you get them? Do you stay with a certain company? How does that work? Because I would have interest in that too.
Yeah. So I work with Green Cover Seed. They're the world's largest, I think they're still the world's largest cover crop. You probably heard about cover crops provider. And they got all the, wheat, oats, brassica. They sell about 150 different varieties of seed. I love Green Cover because they're big time ag. I think they sell enough seed to plant about 30 million acres a year, something like that. I mean, it's big time, right? This is not grandpa's hardware store. So their seed's always fresh. They're always getting more. They're experts. They know what they're doing. And years ago, I just drove up to they're in Braden, Nebraska. And I just drove up to Braden. I sat down with Keith Burns, the owner, and said, y'all got great seed. It's got no treatment. I mean, it may have inoculant, microbes for legumes or something, but no fungicide, no insecticide, none of that bad, nasty stuff. They don't even let it on their property. They sell none of that, period. They have no GMO seeds, none of that stuff. I said, y'all need to be selling to wildlifers like me. I can be pesky. So I kept pestering him. And that's where Green Cover Food Plot seeds come from. So greencoverfoodplots.com. I help them design the wildlife blends. They are farmers. They see a deer that's eating up someone's crop. They do not think about deer like I do. Like I'll wreck my truck looking at a fawn in a fence row. They don't even turn their head. Go out to eat lunch with them. Hey, y'all see that deer? What deer? They could care less about that. But they know seeds. And they have a really good help. And that's where I get my seed. And I helped them with the blends. We just went through a long session of coming up with our blends for this year. You never see a deer on the bag or anything like that. These are farmers. So shipping, they don't have stores everywhere. They're not shipping a pallet to your local, feed store or something like that. So, but if you can get with a buddy, and the secret to that is to get it really cheap, get just enough seed to get on the pallet. If UPS is delivering a 50-pound bag of seed, the shipping is going to cost you more than the seed. But if you can get, I think it's 350 pounds. So my neighbors, we're in a little local deer co-op here. There's no money changing hand, no rules, except you got to be, polite and respectful to everyone else. And if you shoot a 2-year-old buck and I shoot a 5-year-old buck or vice versa, it's just about sharing information. Got about 60 landowners in our co-op. And we get together and order seed. Everyone pays for their own seed and stuff, but that way we get shipping really cheap because there's such a volume of seed. So if you and a buddy can get enough seed to plant, 4 or 5 acres or whatever, get enough to get on a pallet, LTL shipping, come in a semi versus UPS, that price gets really good.
I appreciate that information.
Yeah, because we all know this. When Amazon or whoever says free shipping, there is no such thing as free shipping. Someone had to pay for that. There's
Right.
no free lunch, folks. Someone paid for shipping, and you, the consumer, are paying for it by a higher price. They just don't have a separate line item for shipping.
That's some good information for sure. And I mean, for me personally, we just dove into a whole new level of, you know, food plots and all that kind of stuff. Like I've never dove that deep on any of that. So that's very good information for sure. I'll definitely take some stuff away from that. I do want to ask you because again, like I mentioned, I'm from Texas, and I'm sure you're familiar with kind of the Texas scene down here, and then the being a state that is allowed to bait.
Yeah.
What is your advice for people in those states that are allowed to bait? Because I think back to growing up when I was a kid and hunting and everything. It was just you sat in a box blind with your rifle, and there was a feeder in front of you, and that was it. If something showed up, great. If not, oh well, try again, next time. And that was hunting. What is your advice for people who are in a state that can bait and might be struggling to get out of that bubble of just their box blind and their feeder?
Yeah. I mean, if they enjoy it and it's legal, and we have to add another and these days, CWD is not a big issue there. If they enjoy it, great.
Right.
CWD is a real issue. There's some people out there calling it government hoax, whatever. That's nonsense. I mean, literally many years ago. This is not recent. My first CWD meeting I went to was almost 30 years ago, folks. I've been in
Wow.
the CWD business longer than a lot of people have been alive. Let that sink in a little bit. So I was working with the state vet in Wyoming, and this was a long time ago. Not much was known about CWD. And he had I don't know, 10, 12 acre pen, had a bunch of elk in there they're doing some research on. And one of them died, another one died, and they did some tests. Anyway, figured out it's CWD. Well, all the elk in there died. All of them. All right. They let it set 5 years. We were naive back then. Well, after 5 years, that stuff's gone. Put more elk in there, they all died of CWD. Because once that prime's in soil, it's not coming out. Okay. You can cook it at 1,000 degrees. You can do a lot of things. The prion is still going to affect another deer. CWD is dead serious, folks. Period. Okay. I'll take that one step further, because there's all the naysayers and poo-pooers, and I'll get a bunch of hate mail all this. That's okay, because I care about deer. Wisconsin listens to some folks that gave him some bad advice, and now there's portions of counties in Wisconsin. You kill a buck, you got a 60% chance to have CWD. 6 out of 10. I have buddies personally in Wisconsin that have not checked a buck in 3 years that did not test positive for CWD. Period.
Wow.
It's 100% fatal disease. That's why the age structure is dropping in some of these areas. See those big old stud 5-year-old bucks, they don't live that long. At almost the same time it was discovered in Wisconsin, it was discovered in Illinois. And they did those things that's so unpopular. Well, we're going to take away baiting and minerals, and we're going to up the harvest a little bit. Everyone says, oh, they're going to wipe them out. That's never happened yet, folks. It's never happened yet, period. Okay. Now, fast forward, the highest incident rate, last I knew, a couple months ago in Illinois, in one area was 17%, and statewide it's less than 3%. You want to hunt where 60% or 3%? How important is that bait mineral to you? These are facts. These are not arguable. Now, your emotions and your feelings, the audience, that's your business. I'm a wildlife biologist, and I speak in facts. This is not emotional. Missouri discovered CWD later, and they took those pretty much same guidelines to Missouri. Our department is called MDC, Missouri Department of Conservation. And I was sponsored by a great company, Time Trophy Rock, great company. And I gave up a very high dollar gig sponsoring, talking about working with Trophy Rock because of CWD. And that's just part of it, because I want deer more than I want that. So on my land, I killed one of my employees' wives killed a doe this year. CWD. Her belly's full of corn. One of my neighbors are baiting. It's illegal here because so baiting is never healthy. Deer have lung worms, stomach worms, all kind of parasites. And you have deer salivating, urinating, defecating in a small circle. You think it's going to the other deer? They're not vaccinated. It's illegal to vaccinate wildlife, because you could stick some nasty vaccine in there and Bubba kills it down the road and eats it.
Right.
or the squirrel eats your corn or whatever, and you got a dose for deer, and a little old 2-ounce cardinal bird eats it. This doesn't work, folks. So if you're in an area that doesn't have CWD, if you bait, if you're in South Texas, you're on a big ranch and there's 14 feeders and 2 people hunt it, you rarely hunt the same feeder, it's going to work great. And that's how this all started. People watch those videos, South tell you, oh man, they put bait out, big bug come in there all day long, every day. I'm going to shoot little big bucks. You like my bug imitation?
I love it. It's great.
Shown with GPS deer in Georgia that it does just the opposite. Because everyone's got a feeder out in Georgia now. Everyone got a feeder out. And the deer learn real quickly. Well, if I go there in daylight, it's bad. I smell human stuff's bad. But if I go at nighttime, it's not too bad. It turns the deer nocturnal. And how many y'all out there, if we could raise hands, there'd probably be an earthquake across America. How many y'all got trail cameras on feeders? You notice most of your deer, especially mature deer, are at night.
Right.
You did that to yourself. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. You made nocturnal deer. Because you're hunting a little 3-foot circle that deer associate with danger day after day after day. Go find you that, that high-heel food plot you don't hunt that often, or that pinch point we're talking about earlier, that really good scrape line, or whatever it is. And the deer are not going to associate that with danger unless you hunt it every day. Because deer, they're not smart like we think is smart. But they have great instinct, and they have a tremendous will to survive. I had a buddy the other day, killed a deer, cleaning it, and a broadhead right between the lungs. Someone had shot straight down. When I say between the lungs, up and down, straight down. That's a horrible shot with a bow, folks. All calcified over, just a hard knothead, take it open to see, oh, there's broadhead inside here. Well, deer have an instinct to learn. And that's why if you overhunt a stand, and research, again, GPS collar deer have shown this, if you hunt the same stand over and over, deer will avoid that in daylight hours. They did a study several years ago in South Carolina on a big property. It was a railroad company where a railroad had guests come in to, wine and dine. Hey, I'll haul your Chevy cars. I'm going to bring you on a deer hunt. Give me that $14 million contract and I'll haul your Chevy cars around, or whatever it was, Not indicating Chevy. I just picked the brand out there, folks, where I get hate mail. And anyway, and their harvest rates were going down, down, down. So they did a research and they hunted, and I don't remember exactly. Someone's going to call me this. It seemed like it's all ladder stands for liability, big corporate stuff, and bait pile right in front of the ladder stand. And one year, instead of hunting them all, they shut down half of them. And within a week or less, this is refereed. Refereed means other scientists review it. So yeah, that's good work. You're not fudging on here. Within a week, the deer learned which one to hunt, and they avoided them and went to the feeders that weren't being hunted. So after a while, they switched and hunted those other stands. Deer switched to the ones that weren't getting hunting pressure anymore. So again, if you're feeding and your neighbors aren't feeding and deer aren't getting shot over feeders all the time, it's going to work great, man. Or a poacher, like, one of my neighbors or whatever, in an area where no one else is feeding, you put bait on ground and deer do not associate that with danger, man, it's going to work great. If you're in an area where everybody feeds, I would love for all my neighbors hunt over a feeder. I'm going to go in timber and kill the deer.
No, it makes perfect sense. You talked about basically us turning deer nocturnal by doing that kind of stuff. I want to transition and take that into a little bit of a conversation about just moon phases and everything, and how, just speaking on deer being nocturnal, how much does the moon phase impact hunting, and what kind of impacts do you see on hunting based on a different kind of moon phase, if so?
This is going to hurt somebody's feelings out there. And I've always took this on the heat before. All right. I want you to be honest now, right? I'm being very honest, y'all. You can tell.
Yeah, please.
Do you believe the moon has any impact on deer?
My way of thinking on it has changed this year a lot, honestly, because of this other guy here on the call, because of Ryan. I've had some conversations and some text messages and everything with Ryan this year, and it's kind of made me, it's debunked some of my previous just beliefs of, previously it was just like, oh, full moon, deer are going to move all night. I'm not going to see any deer during the day. Just don't hunt during a full moon. And Ryan and I have had some good conversations on this show, off this show, about that very thing. So my way of thinking is shifting, and that's kind of why I asked you as well.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. Ryan, are you familiar with the Mississippi State research that was just published a couple weeks ago?
I did see some of that. I didn't get the whole gist of it, but I did see some of it.
I'm going to encourage, first, let me answer this. First off, research we did, I don't remember, 20 years ago with several other researchers, not just us. So we took, I think, if I remember right, the number was 10,000 or 14,000 fetuses. I think my data had about 1,000 there. Hunter harvested does, late season, their fetus is going to be big enough to measure. You can measure the fetus just like if your wife's pregnant, you go doctor and they take the ultrasound, slide around, and they measure crown and rump, and they say, your baby's due X. Well, conception date of a deer is 200 days. So we can't ultrasound deer. They don't lay there on the table very calmly like that. And hunters are going to kill, X million does a year. So late season does, you eviscerate them. That's a fancy word for gut. And pull those fetuses out, and you can measure them. I have right here, actually, because it's deer season, a fetal scale. And we can lay that fetus on there and measure, and then backdate with the calendar on the back and tell you when that doe was bred. Okay? This knowledge has been around for many decades. It just outdoor writers don't write about this stuff. They're trying to sell you the better, XYZ widget to kill deer, which had never killed a deer in its life, right? It's all hunting.
Right. So I've noticed in my area, I kind of
hold on. I gotta hold you on. Let me hold you on.
You got it.
So we put all these feeders together, published the data, and there was zero impact on when the rut happens in the moon. Zero. We could not have lied. If you know regression, up means reaction, down means reaction, flat is there's no relationship. We couldn't have lied and made a flatter line. That's just during the rut, though. So Mississippi State had, and I'm going from memory, 60, something like that, mature bucks, not youngins, fitted with GPS collars, know where they are at 15 minutes, something like that, for years. And then pulled all that data and took the exact theories. Full moon, they move more. Because if you actually did the research, did a survey, half people think they move more in the full moon, half thinks they don't move at all during the full moon. That should tell you there's no relationship. Because all they're doing is regurgitating my grandpa told them, now, son, gonna be a full moon this weekend. Deer gonna move good. The other half grandpas were saying, now, son, full moon this weekend, deer ain't moving at all. We might as well go to a football game. That should tell you there's no relationship. All these competing theories. But anyway, Mississippi State just released a great thing you can find on YouTube. I want to give them credit where credit's due. Big time statistics, all this stuff, but they break it down where Bubba's like me can understand it. And I encourage all your listeners and you two to go to YouTube, just search on MSU, Mississippi State Deer Lab. Okay, MSU Deer Lab. And find their research. And it unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, stomps down that there is no relationship between anything a deer does and the moon. Period. And I'm so happy I can put it on them now so they get all the hate mail, because I used to be the guy saying that, because they have better, more detailed research than ours. So I'm throwing everyone to Mississippi State and Brandon and Dr. Damaris. Those guys can take the heat now because I've taken it for years.
Yeah, I did see some of it online. I was actually watching somebody on, I think it was the Southern Outdoorsman. They were talking about this study, so I'll have to dive into it and learn some more. But the only thing is, I run a lot of trail cameras, and in my region here in Western New York area, it's I've seen which it counter, it's counterintuitive to everything that you just said. It seemed that
I'm going to stop you right there. Have you ever ran a regression on that data, or are you just going, oh, wow, it's full moon, seeing a bunch of deer?
So I analyze all the statistics, and what I started looking at is just this little area around the full moon. And I've always seemed to notice that the 48 hours prior to and 24-hour period after, it seems like a lot of my major bucks would be up and on their feet in the daylight. I'm not saying that it had anything to do with the moon or anything. I'm just saying that in that little window, for some reason, they got up. They were not nocturnal, that middle of October, they were up on their feet, walking past my tree stands. And I've noticed it multiple different times. And I'm like, I'm at the point where now I make it a point to hunt those 2 days prior and the 1 day after that full moon, because it just seemed like I was consistently getting, from the 23 trail cameras that I run, it always seemed like, okay, that full moon's coming, and I'd miss it and I wouldn't pay attention to it. And I was like, I'm not using the statistics correctly. And then I started really diving into it, and I'm like, well, this is the 10th time, on a full moon that over the last 5 years, these deer are up at 4 in the afternoon walking past one of my sets. And I don't know how to really correlate that, but I knew that that was happening. So it's something that I paid
Well, I mean, you
attention.
said October, so deer are moving more, right? You're getting into pre-rut, they're moving more. And I'm not going to change your mind, so I'm not going to try, but I'm going to tell you that 60 mature bucks wearing a GPS collar, we know exactly where they are every day, 15 minutes around the clock, versus deer walking in front of 28 trail cameras, one picture a day or whatever it is. I'm going to go with the GPS data.
Oh,
I'm going to bet
100%.
all my marbles on GPS data, period. I mean, 100% of them. Pair that with our fetal work that showed zero relationship, and half the people out there saying full moon, quarter moon, moon below your foot, moon above your feet, all this stuff. They all got different arguments. They all cancel each other out. But Mississippi State data is extremely convincing, and I challenge all of your viewers and y'all to watch it. Because if you're
I
being
definitely will.
unbiased and watch it, you'll be a believer. Period. I always tell people all the time, hunt when you can. I'm a working man, and so I have to pick my days. I'm looking for cold fronts, which makes me happier. I'm not saying deer move more, but there is some data coming out that will be pretty strong. A little hint, hint, hint. I'm looking for, and for me, a cold front is at least a 10% change. All right. So if the normal for that day is 60 and it's getting down to 54, something like that. And there's a lot of variables side cold front, wind direction, all these things. But yeah, no. I don't pay, I pay zero attention to the moon whatsoever. Cool thing to do is Google, are there really more people checked in to the emergency room on a full moon than a non-full moon? Because you probably heard that for years. Ambulance drivers always make more runs on a full moon. Turns out if you get real data, that's not true at all. Saturday nights are big. Ambulance guys are really busy when the bars are open Saturday night. But full moon has nothing to do with it.
Having been an ambulance driver, I'll tell you that Friday nights and Saturdays are busiest days of the week. So it doesn't matter what the moon
You don't want
says.
to go emergency room. You don't want to go emergency room on those nights, right? Yeah, no. Wait to get sick to midweek. It'd be a lot better. You get a lot better service.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you also, like, I mean, we're recording this episode, in mid-December. We're getting toward the end of deer seasons across the country and everything, but you get guys that are maybe listening to this and just blowing their minds and blowing all their theories and all their mentalities wide open and everything. They're like, oh my gosh, I got to change everything I'm doing. What are your thoughts on guys changing setups, changing tactics mid to late season? And are they setting themselves up for success, or should they be waiting for a whole nother deer season?
So that's a great question. Huge amount of variables there. Can they move their stand without alerting deer to wherever they're going? Totally changes the game, right? Deer are whatever we do only matters if we condition a deer to associate that area with danger. Deer move on a golf course all day long. They smell humans, they see golf carts, all this stuff all day long. They could care less. So it's what deer are conditioned to in your area. On my property here, we have killed deer for a living, right? We gotta make shows like y'all. We have to do stuff. We have blessed with a lot of great sponsors. They want to see their bullets, guns, scopes being used successfully. Blessed to have that. We have to kill deer. It's not a game for us. But my wife, she always wants to bring the church ladies out during the pre-rut to walk and look at the wildflowers where I've been burning. Why is it always during the pre-rut? Honey, can't you do that in summer? No, the ticks are too bad. There's people all over our property all the time, and we're still successful. If you have that pristine property that is never hunted except by you, and you only go in there certain days, blah, 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 then don't change, because you're going to alert those deer. Or if you just park the combine there that night, not probably a very good stand. If the combine's been there a week, I would set on that thing in a heartbeat. That's going to be a great stand. Deer are totally conditioned to it. So there's a lot of things that are myths or just not based on biology. And I started this by saying, think like a deer. So deer hear car, unless you're in the middle of Bob Marshall Wilderness Area or something, deer hear cars every day. You got to have a big property for deer not to hear cars. I'm not worried about a car. On my property, we use tracker UTVs all the time. And I want to go to my stand, step out of my stand from the tracker and climb the tree. They're not worried about exhaust or noise. They're worried about human scent walking a mile and a half through the woods to get to my stand. That's what would spook them. Now, if you don't ever use UTVs or ATVs or whatever in your property, don't start right in the middle of the season. You're going to send those babies on wide alert. Like if drones flew over New Jersey every day, it wouldn't be a big deal. You get 30 drones out there at one time. It's a big deal, folks. I don't care what some politician says. That's a big old deal. So deer the same way as humans. Well, that's not natural. That's different. I'm going to be a little bit shy around that. That's different. Or just watching our faces on the screen here. You know, you got a camo jacket on, camo hat. I wear camo too. It's great. How many of us camo our face? I moved up here because I'm back here. See the sun shining my glasses, you know, my eyes and stuff like that. Man, that's what alerts deer. The two things that move most for hunting are our hands and our face. Our chest ain't moving much, but look how much my hands and face are moving.
Right.
How many camo gloves or so? Not near enough. Not near enough. Those are two things that are flagging deer all the time. I mean, you're sitting around on your phone, you're picking your nose, your hands are moving all the time in a stand.
Yeah.
So there's just simple things.
Common
Great
sense.
hunters do the simple stuff good.
Well said. Well, I know, Ryan, I think you had a question about herd thinning for Grant as well.
Well, I did. I wanted to ask him if he took pride in thinning out his herd with the does, but he kind of addressed some of that, said that they like to drop one right away, but I didn't know if you actually thin your herd out at any time or
Oh yeah. Thousands, literally, in my career. I don't mean that. I'm not just throwing a number off the top of my head. So most people have too many deer, but it's real easy. This is, again, I'm a simple person. I like simple stuff. Put your utilization cage. Get you 10, 12 feet long of webbed wire, chicken wire, something small enough a deer can't get their head in. Just pull it together. Make a cylinder. Stake it down with the T-post in your food plot or native vegetation. If it's 2 or 3 times taller inside where deer can't get to it than it is outside, you need to be shooting does. Period. Because you have more mouths than you have groceries, and no deer can express its full potential. It's never genetics, guys. You hear all this outdoor rider crap all the time. It's never genetics. It's groceries. South Florida has horrible, horrible soil. We work with people down there kill 150-inch deer. You got to do a lot of work that habitat, and you got to get that deer population down so there's enough good quality groceries for every deer. So everyone, if I said, guys, I've had a great day on the podcast today, man, I really like y'all. We help people with deer everywhere. We've been in New Zealand, Canada. We help. If there's whitetails, we go there and work literally. I want to take you guys on a free hunt. We have clients in every state that has whitetails. Where would you guys like to go hunting? Where would you tell me? What's your dream whitetail hunt?
I mean, those Midwest states, right? I mean, that's the coveted thing for everybody,
Iowa.
Iowa,
Iowa.
Kansas,
Iowa's common answer. Illinois, Kansas, those are common answers, right?
Right, exactly.
And everyone says, well, it's ag states. Here's what happens in those states. Sun gets to the ground. Photosynthesis happens in the habitat zone, 0 to 5 feet. 23% protein in a ragweed and 20 to 30% protein. You only need 20%, so extra is bonus. In a soybean is no different to a deer. Sun to the ground. You're in western New York. What part?
I'm south of Buffalo, about an hour. So I'm more rural. I sit between Erie, Pennsylvania, and Buffalo.
Yeah, but there's ag in that area. There's a mix of ag and timber in that area. I work in that area.
100%.
Can I mention the Kansas City Chiefs to you? I'm teasing. I'm not even that big a sports fan. So yeah, we have clients over there. We have a lot of clients down the Finger Lake region. That's a little bit east of you, down to Finger Lakes, down there in Naples, Bath, that area.
Yep.
Kind of a mix of ag and timber. But in those areas where we get to land on it, all that timber has been high graded. People have harvested the best maple logs, whatever, and left the rest for decades, not just once. We go in there and thin that timber out. We write the plan up. We don't thin it. They have contractors do it. And use prescribed fire. That's so tough to do in New York. Oh my gosh, you got to have 88,000 permits.
New York is tough,
and it's getting better. Oh, I've been working on that. It's getting better. Matter of fact, the prescribed fire council meeting up there just had a meeting a couple weeks ago. Getting better, and get some native forbs growing, and you're gonna own those deer. You're gonna own them. So it's how much sunshine's getting to the ground, those simple utilization cages. How tall is it inside where deer can't? Take you 4 hog panels. You know what a hog panel, you know what a cattle panel is? You sure know what a cattle panel is. Take 4 of those, 4 T-posts, just stick them in the woods where there's getting enough sun, not just brown leaves, where it's getting enough sun to grow something. And you'd be shocked what grows inside there versus 2 inches outside. You'd be shocked. Because deer eat about 5% of their body weight a day. 100-pound doe, easy math, 5 pounds a day. That's misleading because, again, she's going to urinate, salivate, and respirate all that moisture out. So when stuff is green and growing, she's got to eat about 17 pounds a day to get that 5 pounds. These are all round numbers, okay? So 10 does eating 17 pounds a day is 170 pounds. You got a quarter-acre food plot or your protein feeder, and that food plot's this tall. There's not 170 pounds across the whole food plot. It never gets to express its full potential. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter that food plot could make 2 or 3 tons per acre per year. It never gets to because they kill the plants when it's this tall. And that's where utilization cages come in. It's the greatest tool it's so cheap. Anyone can do it. Get some scrap wire, find some more wire in a fence or something. So cheap. Got to be small enough a deer don't get his head in there. And these be 3 or 4 foot diameter because deer have adult deer's got a 10, 11 inch tongue. They're hungry. They're reaching their wrap their tongue out and pull it back out. So that's why I make them big. And it'd be a cone. It'd be shorter on the edges where deer are sticking their tongue in there and get taller and taller in the middle. And if you're seeing that, you have more deer than groceries. And you should never whine about not seeing big bucks because they cannot express their full potential. It has nothing to do with genetics. And let's talk genetics a second. So in Missouri, where I am, northern Missouri, world-class deer, right? No one's going, boy, I don't want to hunt northern Missouri. I mean, it's great deer hunting.
Yeah.
Those deer, about 95% of them, were stocked from down here in the hills and hollers where I am because that's the last place Missouri had deer. Old hillbillies that killed them everywhere else. The deepest hills and hollers where we had a little refuge of deer left, it's the exact same genetics in northern Missouri, different groceries. Or again, Mississippi State took deer off a coastal barrier island. You know those deer people call shepherd. That deer's no bigger than a shepherd dog. You hear that comment all the time, right? Took them up to the research facilities there at Mississippi State, took deer out of Delta on the Mississippi River where they grow deer as big as anywhere in the world. Great soil, soybeans everywhere, sun getting to the ground. Put them in pens side by side, did not let them interbreed. Everything's same, water, food, everything's same. And 3 generations, not 3 years, 3 generations difference. You could barely tell the difference. Because those deer had groceries. And the reason it takes generations, if you're in Ethiopia and you're starving to death, and we give you a great big steak and taters and everything good, what happens? You puke because your system's not used to it. And this is a little deep for this podcast. That's called epigenetics. We will literally turn off genes that are not necessary to survive in an area. You don't want to grow a 200-inch antlers when you're eating straw for a living. You don't have enough energy to carry it around. That's called epigenetics. And you get a generation or 2 of things better, then you would turn those genes on that allow you to express more potential. In human terms, why is the average human so tall now when back when George Washington was around, they were 4 feet 11, something like that? Different genes, the only tall people breed and we killed all short people? Nah, better groceries, better healthcare. So we're turning on those genes.
Makes
Whole new
sense.
way of thinking.
I know. I've never dove that deep with it. That's awesome. I never looked at it like that.
And I encourage everyone out there, everyone, not just me, AI is a wonderful thing used appropriately. If you have questions, whatever your favorite AI is, I prefer Gork, Grok, on Elon's site. Seems to be pretty accurate stuff. I've asked it. And Google some stuff. It'll probably take you to Georgia, University of Georgia, great researchers there, Mississippi State. Maybe find a couple of our publications in there. Don't read Joe Bubba. Joe Bubba killed one big deer somewhere. There's some really smart people like Mark Drury or someone who's just done this a long time. Mark and I talk a fair amount. But just because someone lives in an ag country and there's big deer everywhere does not mean they understand deer biology.
Right.
Get your deer biology from people that research it, not someone that kills some big deer. You take a guy that's, in the Midwest and killing some pretty big deer and put him in South Florida or down here where I'm in the hills and hollers and see what he kills. You can't kill a 200 deer if they're not there. So my job,
I agree.
Yeah, my job is to help people. We work with a lot of private landowners, is to help people understand and apply science to their property. We've worked from 4 acres to several 100,000 acres. And if you got 4 acres, you have to have realistic expectations. We're going to attract more deer. We're not going to grow any bigger deer. We're not got enough food on 4 acres to grow any bigger deer. But that's what we do, is help people take the science from the soil up, because everything starts in the soil. The air cycle that we all breathe starts in the soil. The water cycle, how much it rains, starts in the soil. The energy cycle comes from the sun, and until it interacts with the soil and plants, it's dead. Sun shining on a slab of limestone doesn't do much. So those 3 cycles determine everything on this planet. And we work to make those cycles better. But we talk antlers, because if I said, hey man, Ryan, I'm coming up New York and we're going to make that energy cycle better on your property, I ain't having Grant up here. What's he talking about? So we have to talk antlers to get people's attention.
Yeah,
For sure.
Incredible stuff. Well, I know we're getting into our time limit for today and everything, but before we wrap it up, or any closing thoughts, Ryan, I wanted to make sure you didn't have anything else for Grant here before we head for home.
No, I mean, I think he kind of answered everything that, on his own before I even had a chance to ask him. But yeah, he's a wealth of knowledge. So,
I appreciate the opportunity, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very grateful that you took the time out of your day to come on the show. I do have one question for you in closing and everything here. And this might be too broad of a question, but if there's info out there that in your mind, the most valuable piece of information with any of this for any hunter to know, what would it be?
I think, again, if you find stuff from University of Georgia or Mississippi State, you can count on it. It may not be applicable to you, but those boys and girls are solid researchers. We're not going to mislead you. So if we say something, it's the best of our knowledge for sure. And there's some other people like that. Not many. A lot of people are scratching out a living. They want to be in the hunting industry so bad they can't stand it. They're not really making any money. They get a free bow, free arrow, something like that. So just, if you're going to make big, how you hunt, if you want to believe in the moon, that's your business. It's only my job to let you know the truth. If you want to ignore it, I'm happy. At the end of the day, here's what I want. I want people hunting legally and ethically and having fun, because I care about hunting. And the second thing I really want is people to realize just how nutritious venison is. It's better than any beef you're going to buy at the store. Deer have a real narrow muzzle. You see the mounts behind you, Ryan? Just skull mounts behind you. And a real narrow muzzle. Cow got a big wide muzzle. Elk got a big wide muzzle. Buffalo got a big wide muzzle. Those big wide muzzles are grass eaters, because there's plenty of grass on the planet. Give me more, give me more. Deer are real finicky eaters. You've seen this maybe in a bean field, some leaf here, leaf here. If a cow got loose in that bean field, it just stops and puts his head down and starts eating. Deer picking the very best leaf. Their meat's extremely good. So we're working with, if anyone gets serious, you can look it up, Dr. Stefan Van Vliet. He's one of the world's leading human nutritionists. And we're running 500 different things, not just NP and K, but a bunch of analysis on all the phytonutrients and stuff, deep stuff in deer venison. Early results is it may be the best meat you can put in your body, period. Period. So you can go home or buy that new bow or whatever. Honey, I just brought the best meat on the planet home for my family. I need another pack of broadheads, or, whatever it is, Venison is super high quality meat. And I think hunters are at their best when they're providers, not big antlers. I love big antlers. I like the turkey hunt, and I like big antlers. That sun's so bad you can't sit much. But anyway, but we're at our best, and I'm going to end with this. There's two things a hunter should do. Biggest trophy they can bring home is returning safely. The biggest trophy you can bring your family or your friends or your loved ones is returning safely. We got to end these stupid tree stand accidents and nonsense. If you're climbing, you're tethered in. I'm not talking any brand. You're tethered in. If you're harness hunting, you're doing it right. If you're saddle hunting, you're doing it right. If you're climbing an old 2x4 blind in the woods that you found rotted out, you're an idiot. Then you're going to break your back one of these days. Come home safely. Second thing is be a provider. I love big antlers. I make a living off helping people grow big bucks. Be a provider. Bring that quality meat home. And does make great meat too. America needs to harvest does. Doe harvest is declining in most areas. Deer herds are going up. Doe harvest is declining. That's a bad recipe for deer health. So be a provider. Again, I'm a transplant patient. I go to Mayo Clinic every year. My nutritionist says, "Hey, Grant, what are you eating this year?" "Well, I eat a lot of venison." "Oh, that's great, Grant. Some of the best meat you put in your body." Just from the Mayo Clinic. Be a provider, folks.
Very well
that's
said.
definitely good information. I have to get up there to the proving grounds with you, and I'll be a provider just like you.
You don't want to come here. We got to make videos every week. Our place gets hunted extremely, extremely hard. You don't want to come here.
Yeah. No,
Well, Grant, before we cut you loose, tell folks if they want to learn more about what you're doing, about Growing Deer TV and all that, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, just go to your favorite platform from, YouTube, X, whatever, and just search on Growing Deer. You'll find us. Really, just search on Growing Deer. You'll find us.
Awesome. Well, once again, sir, thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate you coming on the show. Some great and incredible information. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us.
Thanks, Grant.
Thanks for the opportunity, guys, and I hope you all have a very meaningful Christmas this year.
Same to you, sir. Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for listening to another Follow Up Session podcast. We're wrapping it up. I'll be back again with you guys next week. Catch you then.